wherever you're at, welcome to the channel. So, I can't ever really call when these are going to happen. So, if you're not able to catch it, when you catch it, you'll catch it afterwards. And without further ado, as I mentioned, today's discussion was going to be about the power of pooping, right? So, basically, number two, how often you're able to allow for yourself to be regular with digestion and how you use the bathroom, right? So I feel like this is a very important topic, and feel free to bring up any content for future live streams because I would love to engage and answer any questions, be able to bring about further discussions on anything you guys and gals are able to think about. Now, disclaimer, I am not any type of a medical physician, so these are my thoughts, my opinions. Do not take me to any type of place of litigation or anything like that when listening to whatever I'm saying here. Okay, these are my opinions based upon my experience and what I have seen and researched over years. With that being said, again, as I will continue to say in all of these live streams, I tread carefully when I discuss any of this subject matter because I'm very well aware of what goes on around us. Therefore, when we continue to talk about these things, just know that I am proceeding carefully when discussing it. So I will continue to do my best in providing information. However, I am not going to go into extreme detail about everything I do know and am probably not willing to share. Okay? I'll do my best to be a little bit more specific than vague. Now, when it comes to the topic here, pooping is powerful because a lot of people don't know the frequency of what that entails. So you'd be surprised to know, just like there are plenty of people that don't know how powerful flossing is, right? So you might have men in their 40s that don't floss at all and may not ever floss. So what winds up happening, because I have tight teeth, right? So especially towards the back. Most recently, my teeth towards the front have started shifting a little bit, so they're not as tight, but in the back they are. So depending on the texture of food, that food will wedge into the back of my teeth, putting pressure on my gums, and it's very painful. If that stays there, and I'm gonna bring you the visual so I can tie this into poop, because obviously everything correlates when you're talking about food and how it digests and what happens. But there are some similarities in like being able to visualize this and how I make a connection here. When that gets stuck in the back, not only does it bring the pressure to someone like me with tight teeth, which then kills my gums, which is then gonna cause a crazy painful experience to like my head region, because the inflammation starts like throbbing, right? If anyone who's ever had toothaches, gum pains, you already know what that is. So If that food stays stuck there, not only is it going to potentially start rotting and, and causing that pain and inflammation, but it's gonna stink, right? Because you're leaving it there. If it's like fish, if it's like anything, any type of meat, any kind of food item that just stays stuck in a place with like all this happening there, it's not a good thing. So I have realized that for me, I have to floss pretty much after every meal. Get it out of there, right? And probably gargle with some water, or at least drink some water, right? Preferably brush as well. I'm definitely flossing because I learned the power of flossing to get it out. Just make sure it's no longer there so it doesn't stink and it doesn't hurt and it doesn't cause issues because it's staying stuck and remaining there, right? So now I know you can see where I'm going here with poop, because if you're eating food and your food is staying stuck in your system, it's very similar, because that food over time, this as a repeated thing is going to wind up hardening channelways inside your body. It's like plaque and tartar that builds on your teeth. On each tooth, you'll have like hard, almost calcified like byproducts that are then have to be scraped off, right? It's similar. But how are you going to go inside those channelways of your body to do the same job? Like, how are you going to scrape the insides of like arterial channelways? You know, how are you going to do that? You're not really going to be able to. So then how do you widen those channels and make it flow properly again? Well, you do it through food itself as well. The same thing that caused the issues to begin with, which is fiber, right? And which is water, which is exercise, which is a kind of reversal of whatever has caused that buildup and plaque. So you have soluble fiber and you have insoluble fiber, right? So the soluble, think something spongy like oatmeal. It swells up when fluid goes in, right? So if you add water to oatmeal, then it's gonna blow up, right? So that's the definition of soluble, right? It sponges up inside. Think like pasta. Think like anything that absorbs liquid, like a sponge, right? So that's again soluble, right? So that's one type of fiber. What that is responsible for is basically bulk. So your stool or your poop gets bulky. So it gives you that feeling like you have to go because it's expanded. So it has brought about a bulk inside your system. So that gives you the urge, right? But that alone is not enough, because just because it gives you the urge that you want to get it out is not enough. You also have to have insoluble fiber, which doesn't get absorbed like oatmeal or pasta or any of those. Think something like celery. When you drink water with celery, the celery is already comprised of plenty of water, so it doesn't need more water, but it's very solid, right? So when you crunch on celery, it's not going to do anything further as far as absorbing any water. It's just going to go into your system, and then it's going to like go through the channelways, and it's going to like push through slowly and scrape. It's going to scrape. It's going to scrape as it goes, right? So that scraping through insoluble fiber food items like that is what you need over time. So remember, the soluble, which absorbs and blows up, gives you the urge through the bulking of stool to pass stool out because it has expanded inside you and it makes you feel like almost like a baby, like you got to get it out, right? That's soluble, blowing up, spongy fiber sources that give that expansion and urge to pass stool. Insoluble cannot, it won't absorb like that. It just has to pass through. And as it passes through, because it's generally more like hard, it will do what we were speaking about earlier, which is how do you scrape the insides of those channelways to free up all that, like, that hardened, almost calcified like material that came from other food sources. Usually it'll be like highly acidic, comfort, junk food type of food sources, right? Think like cakes and sugary stuff, snacks, etc., right? They're gonna cause that tartar-like buildup, that plaque, right? So it'll be something like celery that passes through, and over time, it's gonna scrape the insides of those channelways, and it'll start breaking it apart, right? Without you having to have a doctor come through and find some sort of intrusive device that can like scrape the insides, because that's not even practical, right? So this is the way you do it over time, and it's gonna take a long time because it took a long time. Excuse me. It took a long time for that plaque, that buildup to happen, right? And actually calcify and harden. So when you jog or when you do cardio, or when you do exercise, generally it's going to increase blood flow. It's going to increase your metabolism. It's going to help shake up things as well. So that's an added way to kind of like rev up your system to give you a fighting chance, to help along with the process of what I just described with soluble fat that gives you a soluble fiber that gives you that I gotta go type feeling because of the building up of bulking stool that gives you that urge to go, right? Insoluble fiber, which kind of scrapes the inside, and then the exercise is going to kind of shake up things. And the combination of all those things with hydration, proper hydration, because that's also going to help. So like I said in the previous 2 live streams about the 5 pillars of simplicity, right? One of the top 3 of out of the 5 is really water, right? It's like it's hydration. So if you're properly hydrated, and if you're going to see on the thumbnail here that I included my Fitbit readings most recently, you see my score was good. You see my hours. I hit around the hours I was supposed to hit, which I was describing in the live stream. You see I hit my steps. I pretty much always hit the hydration part because I have a shake. My shake alone is I would say it's about half a liter, right? So no, yeah, it's a little bit, it's about half a liter, right? Maybe a little bit more. So then for the rest of the day, all I have to do is get another half liter, which is my minimum. If I'm a little bit more active, then maybe a little bit more than that. So I'll go for like, no, excuse me, it's more than half a liter is my shake. And then, because what I have generally per day is a liter and a half. So I'm hitting those, the top three that I'm supposed to hit, right? So going back to this, and that's why I'm just including this as the thumbnail today. Yeah, maybe in the future I'll maybe make the settings more favorable or anything, but that's not my, like, I'm not a YouTuber. That's not my concern right now. I'm just coming here and providing information. Perhaps in the future, people come in regularly. I'm not really concerned about what people want as far as my backgrounds or like my setting, or the thumbnail should be more inviting, or like any of these things. I'm just providing information, and I'm just being raw and off the cuff with how I go about doing it. Excuse me, but I'm showing that thumbnail to show you, like, I do live this, and I do it consistently and regularly. If I hit my top three, then four and five are what I eat, and my eating is on point. My eating is on point. So that's four. And then number five would be just working out. And I had started to work out recently as well. So I'm hitting all five. Now going back to the stool and the poop, when you hit your numbers, it's going to make pooping that much easier. So we at Soul Infusion have something we've been promoting for a long time. It's not for free, and it shouldn't be, but it's not something, we outwardly go out of our way to, you know, try and get people to buy into. It is something that was created over many, 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 many years. It's called the Nutritional Boot Camp. And when you go through this boot camp, we generally feel this is life changing. If you're able to actually go through it, because there has been many people that have tried, and everyone comes in generally very enthusiastic and ready to go because they hear something like, oh, it's only 2 months, 60 days or less. And everyone's gung-ho because we say what we feel the results would be. Generally speaking, men drop 30, 35 pounds in the 2 months, maybe more. And women tend to drop about 20, 25 pounds, maybe more, depending on different factors. And people get hyped. They're like, oh, what? In like 6 weeks, you can do that? Yeah. You're not going to be starving. You're going to be eating. In fact, you're going to be eating to the point of where it feels like, when you get into the flow, like you're eating too much. But we have it controlled. We know what the numbers are as far as the macros are concerned. Now, that nutritional boot camp has a shake that I was just describing. And this shake, because of the ingredients involved and because of the protocol we follow, it definitely helps big time for a person to go poop. I want to keep going on this poop thing. And then I will segue into speaking about carb dependency. When it comes to this poop thing, I feel like you have to be able to put all the different elements together to be able to then experience what happens when you poop regularly and how powerful it is. Because if you have all these, I've just kind of generally described some of it, the process, what will help, and now I'm gonna go into some more like mechanics of, as I made the comparative view on flossing earlier and how like food particles that get stuck in your mouth not only cause pain through inflammation and the pressure of staying stuck there, but it stinks, right? It's the same thing here. If you have food that is rotting inside your system, not only is it going to kind of calcify and harden food items in areas you don't want it to harden, it's going to wreak havoc inside your system because it's also rotting. So it's going to cause inflammation. Like I said, it's going to calcify, and it's going to stink because it has nowhere to go because you're not pooping it out regularly. And when that happens, it's going to come out through your pores, it's going to come out through your breath, it's going to come out through your underarms, anywhere it can. It's not just when you go number 2 and that stinks, or number 1 and that stinks. No, it's not just that. It's going to come out every which way. So I'll give you some examples. I feel we're supposed to poop anywhere between 2 to 5 times a day, depending on a bunch of factors. I generally do not wear antiperspirants because I feel we are, hey, killer, what's going on? I feel like we are blocking our lymph nodes when you wear antiperspirants. So as I was telling my guy right here yesterday, when you are in tune with your body, you're able to know that the food that you consumed earlier in your body, it has to go. You have to get rid of it. Because, hey, Luz, what's going on? If you haven't gotten rid of your food, remember, I just finished saying you should probably go to the bathroom, number 2, 2 to 5 times a day. If you are in tune with your body, then you will know that if you didn't go in a correct period of time, then your body's going to show you. It's going to give you signs that it's basically telling you that you're stinking. Like if you don't wear antiperspirant, then you can smell yourself because you haven't gotten rid of that poop and it's trying to exit your body in any which way because it's staying stuck. Just like the flossing example I gave earlier, it's starting to cause inflammation. It's starting to cause issues being stuck and rotting inside your system. And because you're not getting rid of it, it's stinking in there. And when it's stinking, it has nowhere to go because you're not allowing it to go by going number 2. It's going to come out. And if you're in tune and you're not just blocking your underarms by using antiperspirants, you're going to smell that. So if you're eating food and it's been many, many hours and you haven't gotten rid of it yet, your breath is going to smell different. Your underarms are going to smell different. It's going to come out through your pores. All of that is going to happen. So that's why it's important to go and go regularly, because you can mask it all you want. You can wear deodorants with antiperspirants. You can like use perfume, cologne. You can mask it just like when you're not flossing. You can mask it with chewing gum and, fake brushing and, gargling with. It's not really hiding the problem. That's like popping a pill of medicine when you know you should be really attacking the underlying issue. So the underlying issue here is you not just have to go every day, but you should probably be going a few times per day. Okay? Then those same things that I just described won't happen. You won't be smelling anything under your armpits. Your breath will be like neutral. Your pores will be not giving out any offensive BOs, but you should be going every day. So for me, I go every day no matter what, day by day. I just got finished talking about the nutritional boot camp blues and how the shake that we have, besides the 5 pillars I've been speaking, especially the top 3 pillars of simplicity that I was speaking about in the previous live streams, that in tandem it will really help you go regularly. That nutritional boot camp and that shake that we have will help people go frequently, at least minimally every day. But preferably, if you don't want to stink at all, right? Now, I don't suggest everyone just not wear deodorant, or better yet, not wear antiperspirants. It's obviously depending on many factors, it could be offensive, and some people are very sensitive to those things around you. I use baking soda and coconut oil if I feel like I'm going to be around a lot of people, because I know people are going to be sensitive about these things. So if I want to like wear cutoffs where my armpits are out and I don't want to be offensive, that's what I'm going to do. But generally speaking, I don't even, and I'm very much in tune. Now, if you go every day, not only are you going to notice that smells are different, that you don't have to mask like by using all these things, which is not defeating the issue. I was getting a phone call. But at the same time, your body is going to start changing like instantly. You are going to start losing body fat. Your body's going to start shaping. Your muscles and definition are going to start coming out. Everything is going to start shifting. Your stomach is going to start receding. And I'm going to segue into carb dependency in in describing this, right? Because I've already been almost a half hour in talking about poop. So I'm going to segue next into carb dependency. But your stomach is going to go down. Your body's going to shape. I already spoke about how your breath is going to be different. Smells across your body are not going to be offensive. And you're going to feel great. And your energy is going to go up through the roof. Excuse me. So, yeah, so we know that there are a bunch of people that only go once a week. Laxatives, you know, to me that's like asking, if you don't sleep regularly, is it okay to use sleeping pills on a regular basis to get the sleep? Because now you have a dependency on sleeping pills, right? A dependency on anything really is probably not healthy or safe, you know? And that goes with anything. This is why we speak about caffeine. Like our beloved coffee, Like I can't let my coffee go. Do you see what that is? That's a dependency, right? And I'm not here to attack people for anything they do, but safe is a very subjective question. It's like, on the one hand, it's like, okay, you can look at any type of extreme, right? You can say, well, at least they're not smoking crack or sniffing dope, or they could be doing a lot of other more very extreme things. So it's like, if you're using laxatives, of course it's going to be much more safe, in a sense, safe, but I don't want to come off as being very extreme. But in my honest opinion, no, we're not gonna use laxatives as a means to use the bathroom. Clearly, there's an issue if you're going once a week. When I'm telling you, you should be going 2 to 5 times a day. If you're going once a week, there's a major issue here. So, no, it's not the answer. Laxatives are not it. You don't depend on anything like that. You attack the underlying issue. You send them to people like us that will make sure they experience the power of pooping. Because when you're able to do that, like I said, I just went through a whole list of things that will literally blow your mind and lead you on a path towards success in so many different ways when it comes to experiencing the ability to go at least once a day, right? And when your stomach starts going down and your body starts shaping, that is usually what most people want, right? Because it's a direct correlation in a positive way of what's happening, and people see it, they experience it, they witness that, and it's like, wow, my stomach is down. I haven't been like this in years, and I'm using the bathroom every day. I can't remember the last. So that is huge for people, you know? And when it comes to carbs, this is also another very tricky subject. And like I said in the very beginning of this video, I give my disclaimer. I'm not a physician. I'm not in the medical field. So no one needs to pin me on any of this stuff. These are my opinions through my experiences. However, when it comes to carbs, this is almost like political talk or like religious talk, you know? And I tread carefully when I speak about things that will probably project me to be very extreme. And like most people don't want to hear about these things because it's like the beloved coffee. I'm not going to let that go, right? But you want all the results, but there's certain things you're going to remain stubborn on. It's like Luz with her chocolate or her plantains or her bananas or her mangoes, or there are different things that you're just like, these are going to be the last things to go, no matter how many times Bay says it, right? And I can't like force a person to make these decisions for themselves, because Luz might say to herself, well, my family's telling me that there's nothing wrong in it with having these food items because we grew up eating these food items. But it's not until you do it for yourself that you then see what happens, what changes occur, and then you look back and you determine for yourself, was it the right thing to do? Or was he being extreme in what he was saying? And you have to then make that decision in saying to yourself, it was the right thing or it was just being extreme, right? So when it comes to carbs, because all those pretty much, besides maybe pure chocolate, in which we already know no one's gonna eat that, right? I do, but no one's gonna have that. When it comes to any of these food sources, they're all carby, they're all starchy, they're all problematic, to be honest with you. We started off for a while engaging in keto, and at some points, very strict keto. Strict keto means not even with net grams of, and I'm not going to go into specifics here, but I'm going to talk some talk that may sound like it's not easy to understand, and I'm not really going to break it down because I don't want to go into details on too many things that will complicate matters here. But in, like, let's say gross grams of carbs, right? Not net. So loosely speaking, that means you're not accounting for fiber, which negates the total amount of carbs going in. So when you have fiber that goes into your body, it cuts away at at carbs. So again, I'm not going to go into specifics on that, but whole grams of carbs, 30 grams of carbs for the day or less is strict keto. What is actually, and maybe they'll change this in the future with national guidelines and standards or requirements. The United States nutritional labels and stats tell you to eat over 10 over 10 times that amount. They suggest 300 to 360 grams of carbs per day. Strict keto is 30 or less. And like we're talking about net. I would go net. So that is as strict as you go. We went from that to now we are having, I would say, not 300 or 350, because to me that's ridiculous. And that's why I even suggested that maybe they'll change that in the future. And again, I'm not going to ruffle feathers here because I make sure I move very carefully in some of this stuff that I speak about. I'm not trying to cause issues with anyone, but these are my opinions. And having 300 grams of carbs per day, I don't care if you're a heavy lifting bodybuilder, a power lifter, whatever. Honestly, if you can't be a power lifter and still have a physique that is like a certain way, maybe you should be analyzing it a different way, you know? Because you don't have to be just stuffing yourself like a sumo wrestler and have that type of physique to be able to push weight around. They're very in shape. And I'm not saying these people are not in shape, because for what they do, they are in shape. But I'm talking about just body composition that are extremely powerful. So, but I understand not everyone wants to look like a bodybuilder, and that requires a different level of discipline that goes into body aesthetics. But when it comes to most normal people, the correlation between carb dependency and body aesthetics is very closely related. So, if you are going to remain stubborn and stay stuck on not listening to, like, when Lou says, this is what you should do to be able to have your stomach go down, because you could be training with Lou's like month after month after month after month, and your stomach is maybe not receding as quickly as you would like. You're paying her for results, right? And not to come across too harsh, but it's a little bit of a disappointment. And I can say that. Maybe she won't. She's your trainer, and I'm over here as a talking head. But I'll say it. Like, on behalf of Soul Infusion, and on behalf of us as trainers, it's a disappointment when you're being stubborn and you're not listening and you remain dependent on these carbs. Because it's like the coffee example. Like, I'm not going to let go of my coffee. I'm not. And when you stay stuck like that, your results are going to remain stuck. And now we as trainers, you're making us look bad because we are directly correlated to your results, because we are your teachers. So if you're not willing to compromise, like in an aggressive way, as aggressive as you are with those workouts, then what exactly are we doing here? And like I said, I'll always be bad cop, she'll be good cop. But I'm gonna tell you straight up what it is. Like, if you have a general curiosity to then make it very specific and keep firing questions on like what it takes. I have an 8 to 10 pack year round. I don't work out like that. I don't go crazy. Why is that? It's not my genes neither. It's because we don't have carb dependencies anymore. And we have the only sweet tooths. We are foodies, just like everyone else is. So when you no longer have that dependency on carbs, you will have incredible results that will be long lasting, because you don't ever want any of this to just be temporary. You want it to be long term, so that if you stop training with Luz, you stop coming to Soul Infusion or any gym, it's going to keep staying there with you long term. And that's what we're trying to teach here. If you're able to not stay stuck on these carb sources, and you actually are seriously curious on what it takes and ask the appropriate questions, we will help you get off of those carbs so that you're able to really kick these results into high gear and see what can happen and how fast it can happen. I'm talking about ridiculously fast. So if you are addicted, again, because of this dependency, listen, you don't have to be, because all of us were at some point. We no longer are. We're free right now. And because we're free, we have these long lasting results that remain. And there is no better feeling than being free. So when it comes to the simplicity of this, because I wanna dial it back down, because that's a little bit of passion. This is now me coming back to space, right? Or to like out from outer space back to like I'm landing here in Yonkers, New York again. But when it comes to this carb dependency thing, I said yesterday in the 5 pillars of simplicity part 2, I broke down some of the measures it takes to really speak about what the it's what you eat part, which is the 4th pillar, right? Excuse me, it's the 5th pillar, because the 4th pillar was exercise. The 5th pillar, which is usually with Soul Infusion, you'll know us to put it's what you eat as number 1. But when it comes to these pillars, it's the last one. And literally, that's the order of relevance on how I see it. It's the last. But when it comes to like what we're talking about here with body aesthetics, body conditioning, and and how you go about getting this to where you want it to be and quickly, it's what you eat. That's number 1. So in nailing that, like I said in the stream part 2, in subcategory what you eat, which was the 5th pillar, I talked about what it takes to be able to do that. And one of the things was sugar, right? Removal of sugar. That is number 1. And yes, that's a carb source too, because for every gram of sugar, you're having multiple grams of carbs. So that quickly adds up. So when it comes to, all right, I'm going to try and wrap this up because these streams are going longer and longer each time. But I'll get to your question in a second. Um, when it comes to like the steps, right? We'll see food, because people send. They used to do it to me all the time. I'm playing the cut now. Like I'm in the background a little bit more nowadays, but definitely Luz. I'm sure she gets she gets pictures sent to her because she wants to analyze like what the food choices are for her clients. So it's like I said, we're free. So when you get certain pictures, right? And you're already in a place being free, and you see these things. And this is why I said from the very beginning, I move carefully when it comes to this subject matter, because it's like, okay, you have like pictures coming from people and they swear they're doing like, because if you ask them, they're gonna say like, oh, I don't have a problem with my food. My food is on point. I'm healthy. Okay, prove it. And they send you pictures and you're looking at these pictures. And again, we don't want to come across as being extreme, but it's like, who's the one that's free and who's the one that's seeking information? So you want to like meet us halfway to be able to like be open-minded, to think to yourself, okay, why is this person saying this is not healthy? You know, why is this person looking at pictures I'm sending them of my food items or my food choices, and they're saying, and again, Luz is going to be someone that's probably going to be a little bit more nice and not as direct as me, right? I'm going to probably come out being raw. Like I see these pictures and I'm going to be like, nope, 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 nope. I'm not going to sugarcoat any of it. I'm just going to tell you straight up. Nope, nope, no. Where she'll probably be a little bit more like, she'll encourage you and like kind of slightly say like maybe this should be swapped or traded with something else. But when she's getting these pictures, this is what, and obviously this whole stream is almost an hour, right? So it's going to be tough without timestamps for you to go through the whole thing and get to these places, unless you're just going to sit here and listen to this whole thing. But it's like, if you were a person who's sending Luz pictures of your food items, and there is some little like, you got to understand how she is as a person, right? Because you're not going to get just a rough no like it comes from me. But if you hear her demeanor or something change in the way she's saying, like, maybe you want to, like, that should be your cue. That should be your cue to say, okay, why is she saying this is not it? You should be saying that to yourself. Because if you want to rid yourself of carb dependency, then you should be that thirsty and curious to say, why is Luz telling me there's something off with this picture right here, right? Because you should want that for yourself, especially if you're spending money and giving her money as your trainer to help you get results that are your best case results. So when you hear her pick apart, okay, yo, I got a whole wheat sandwich with, you know, this cheese and that type of bread, and when she says whatever it is, then make sure as soon as you hear her say anything like that, maybe you're not going to hear that, right? Because she's probably texting you. But if there's something that she says, like, because you'll know, yes, 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 yes. If everything is a check mark, affirmative through text, then you know you're good. But if something is off, make sure you attack that. Like, what is off? What isn't perfect about this? And once you're able to do that, and you listen to what she's saying as far as like, okay, this can be replaced by this. Don't be dependent on these food items, because you're gonna stay stuck being dependent on them forever, and your results are gonna remain stagnant. They're not going to propel. And we as older adults, we don't have the time to spend hours and hours in the gym to work out when we have school, we have work, we have kids, we have all types of responsibilities. It doesn't make sense for you to just be dependent on food that is stagnating your results. So if you have someone like Luz that's trying to guide you in the right direction, don't waste your time. Okay? And that's what I'm trying to say on carb dependency. I can go into specifics myself on it, but I already did on the previous live stream. The 5 pillars of simplicity. The fifth pillar is what you eat. And I broke that down in part 2 of the 5 pillars. You can go into that live stream and I straight up picked it apart. I talked about sugar, I talked about fried foods, I talked about all of that. So you can go into all of that. I talked about starches, which is what we're talking about here, right? Which is carb dependency. So make sure you listen to what she's saying. And if anyone has any questions, yo, comment. You know where we're at. You know our social medias. Like, we're all over the place. We literally flood y'all with content. You can reach out at any time and ask appropriate questions. If they're specific, ask them. So I think Luz is already kind of like went into this question, right? Yeah, for sure. Now you're not really yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that is a very good way to approach this question about poop color, because I'm not saying that's not a good question, but the the main thing was what you eat, because it's in if you have that down pat, then I think everything is going to come out uniform. You know, I mean, not to get nasty, but like the consistency of your poop, how it the when I say consistency, like, how it comes out, how together it is, the the color, like how regular, how frequently it is, everything is going to be healthy as well, including your moods, your hormones, your skin, the way you smell, everything. Your body starts shaping without even really going crazy working out. It's amazing. Your breath, your everything. So I feel like that's everything right there on this subject matter. I pretty much like went in depth talking about the power of pooping, as well as segueing into carb dependency. So thank you for the compliment here. If there's any questions that remain on this subject, right, or these, this content, feel free. And again, if not, I hope to see more and more comments in the future. And I will do my best to be able to break down whatever I can as they come flying, and you can always come back to these live streams and comment. And as that continues to build, I'll do my best to respond to these comments. And again, if you have any specific questions that you don't want to be public, you can reach out to any of our social medias, IG, Facebook, here in YouTube land, TikTok, Twitter, Google, everywhere. You can Snapchat, we're on anywhere, like any and everywhere. Ask those questions. And also, if you have any future content you want broken down and spoken about, feel free to bring it up. And then we'll have another live stream and we'll talk about Twitch, you know. Yeah, we're everywhere. So any type of subject matter you want to talk about, let's do it. And any questions that may be more private in nature. I mean, I don't know how much more private it gets than this, but I'm sure, like, we can talk about it. You know, there's some topics I want to be able to speak about freely. You know, whether it comes down to, I guess we can, like, maybe I'll share live with Luz, and we can do it. You know, I can be on her channel, or you could be on this channel, and we can talk about women's cycles. You know, I don't know who's really knowledgeable about, like, men's sexual systems, but we can speak about that as well. These are topics that generally are viewed as even more private than this, but we can talk about that too. You know, so, and you're welcome, Luz, and thank you for showing up and engaging here with this important topic. Again, the power of pooping and carb dependency. If there's anything else, feel free. If not, I think we'll wrap this up, you know, and keep it moving.